Can you hear me, Cameron? Should be on. I haven't started talking yet. Well, I have now. Hey, that's what we want to hear. Lovely jubbies, you lot see that? That's what we want. I'm commentating my studio mic again. I haven't commentated this thing until last night with the Red Arrows League. I hadn't commentated using this mic for about 2 years because it was just, I didn't know where it was. I think I lost it. I don't know what I did with it, but I haven't had this one for ages. So I've been commentating through the PlayStation controller, and then obviously I lost, well, basically my controller's broken, so I'm having to do the comms to remote play on my phone. And I had no way to do the comms, so it kind of gave me a bit of incentive to try and find it, and I found it somewhere hidden away in a box. And so yeah, this is way better. The audio is 10 times better than with my PlayStation controller. Expert. Yeah, that was the hope. I mean, it couldn't get much worse with that PlayStation controller. Honestly, made it sound like I was talking through a tin can or something. But yeah, this studio mic is actually, it's how my real voice sounds, believe it or not. With that controller, it just sounded like, just made me sound like oh, I don't really want to say, because I'll probably, for some reason, I can only ever think of offensive terms to describe things. So I better keep my mouth shut. So apparently we're expecting one more driver, and Matty said we got 15 drivers tonight. We got, see what it says, unfortunately I'm not racing tonight, still heading back from Belgium, the wife is driving so I can watch. Oh my goodness. Fair enough. Oh shit, for a second there I thought you meant driving on the game. Oh, okay, your wife's driving the car, that's good of her. I tell you what, she is a keeper. That's sweet. That is what you want, because now you can watch all the boys going at it. For a second, I thought you meant that she was driving on the game. I was thinking, I can't see her name on there. She's not turned up. That'd be a bit worrying. But anyway, here we are, guys. Welcome along to this F125 race here for the Purple Sector Formula 1 League. This is take 2, round 1 of the season here for season 13, across all platforms. And yeah, last week didn't go so well. Hopefully this week we can have a clean and tidy race from all of the drivers out here tonight. Yeah, it was a bit chaotic last week. We saw Justify took the win in the first attempt, but anyway, let's forget about that, because actually that stream has been deleted now. Let's just erase that from our memories. Let's pretend that never happened. Last week was a rehearsal. You know, that was the pre-season practice race. Now this is the real thing. And yeah, so a bit less of a grid than what we had last time out. I don't know if some of the new drivers maybe, or some of the not so new drivers have perhaps been removed from the league after last week. I know there's a few absentees. 5 drivers I think said they couldn't make it here this week. according to the check-in on the Discord server, which is a bit of a shame. But it does happen, you know, sometimes you can get unlucky and have a lot of people away, especially at this time of year. August is always a tricky one for sim racing. You find that August, July, August and maybe December are the hardest months to run sim leagues, because people are always so busy doing other things, you know, holidays and whatnot, and, you know, just other stuff. But yeah, it's unfortunately the case that August, or to squeeze in a full season, obviously you have to start the season in August, but yeah, it is a bit tricky. But nonetheless, I think we've got most of the drivers out on track here. A couple of drivers still in the pits doing their final adjustments to their setups, but we're watching C. Faulkner at the moment coming around the final corner, about to start a flying lap here. C. Faulkner also was racing here on my YouTube channel last night. Was racing in the Red Arrows F1 League, one of a couple of drivers who races in both leagues here on this channel. But it's all about the Purple Sector F1 League here tonight, guys, and these are a competitive bunch and a very clean league as well, all very respectful on the track, albeit I've seen their Discord server and I've got to say that the respect is only on the track. But nonetheless, I'm just joking, or am I? But currently we've got C. Faulkner on a lap at the moment as he's coming through towards the end of the first sector, actually the middle sector already here, as he comes through this flat out section which leads down towards that chicane. Has he just downshifted there? So has he backed out of this? I'm not quite sure. I haven't got my volume on. Let's just turn the volume up a little bit so I can actually hear the cars. But yeah, I think there must have been a lift or something going through there. C. Faulkner coming into the final sector. This is currently, I think, the first driver to set a lap here. I think he's the furthest around the track. Actually, no, I think there's maybe one ahead of him. We're going to find out who that is in a second. It looks to me like it might be a Haas. And it is. It's Drauger there who does the first lap of the session on a 1:17.7. As C. Faulkner comes up towards the line, what are we going to see here from C. Faulkner? He's well off, so yeah, he did definitely back out of it there through the middle part of the lap. We've got a Sauber coming over the line in the background. That's John, who's done a 1:18.7. And White Shadow Hole there goes into second place. Nice up there from him. Well within a second there of Drauger, the fastest driver so far. Also those two Haas teammates. As Matty Pitt there goes quickest on a 1:17.6. T's gone into third place, only 3/10 off for that. Fastest time being set by Matty. And John, currently as we said before, on a 1:18.7 in P5 ahead of C. Faulkner. So C. Faulkner hasn't shown his hand so far, but is 3/10 up through the first sector, as we see here in 8th gear through this part of the lap, not downshifting like we saw in that previous lap. And let's keep an eye on him because he's coming towards the end of the middle sector here. 2 seconds up on his personal best. Personal best at the moment is 3.5 seconds off of the pace, so he needs to find a bit more time here in the final sector. Davidoff has gone quickest there on a 1:17.4. Davidoff had a scrappy qualifying last week in the season opener, but then ended up third, or rather the practice race should I say. He ended up third in the end, so he had a very strong comeback, but qualifying didn't go to plan for him. And C. Faulkner's run out of fuel here, so he's coming into the pits at the end of this run, and that's going to be C. Faulkner now. Yeah, taking a breather for the time being, maybe putting a fresh set of tyres on. But we've got Davidoff out the front, and he says it has to be track limits there, G.C. So yeah, eagle-eyed there from G.C. That'll be why C. Faulkner came in, but I think also he would have run out of fuel anyway because he'd already done one flying lap, so I would have thought that would have been him done basically at the end of that one. But nonetheless, we've got the provisional pole sitter there, 2/10 ahead of Matty Pitt in second place. Drauger third, with Mark has done a lap P5 so far. Truckee has gone into 6th with White Shadow Hole 7th. John in 8th. Mango sits in 9th place with C. Faulkner currently P10. There's more to come from C. Faulkner 100%. Street Boys come out after everybody else, trying to get a clear track here for his first run of the session. Freddie's still yet to do a lap, currently in the pits. We've got Rexy Boy currently in P14, having also yet to still do a lap. And Justify has just gone quickest there by 0.6 of a second, so showing absolutely no signs of calming down after last week's stellar performance in the practice race. He's currently 0.6 clear of everybody else at the top of the leaderboard there, so Justify really picking up where he's left off at the end of pre-season last week. but still a long way to go here in this session. Obviously the track has been at its most optimal there when Justify did that lap, but yeah, I mean a bit of track improvement doesn't account for 0.6 of a second, so Justify clearly at the moment has the upper hand. But what can the others do over the course of the rest of this session? That's going to be what we're going to find out over the course of tonight. So we've got Mango still out there on laps coming into the pits now, so that's everyone having done their first runs. We've got the likes of Street Boy and Rexy Boy doing their first runs at the moment, or they're about to go on to their first flying laps. Rexy Boy here is just coming over the line to start his first timed run of the session. Freddie's still in the pit, still hasn't emerged to try and do a lap time here. But Street Boy there onto a lap, so Rexy Boy will be the next driver to come over and do a flying lap here. As he's coming through the first sector, let's well, we're not going to get an inkling of where he is in regards to his previous time, because he hasn't done a time in this session, so this is going to be an exploratory lap here for Rexy Boy. Unfortunately, the qualifying graphics here on this F1 game are not to what you see on the real life TV, so you don't see what the sector times are in comparison to the fastest times. All you get is a comparison to that driver's personal best, so unfortunately we're not going to really have too much of an idea of where Rexy Boy is in regards to the top guys until we get to the end of the lap here. But nonetheless, we're watching the Ferrari here coming down this little straight in towards the final sector now. His teammates a couple of corners behind him there, just coming out of the chicane, as we see Rexy Boy now with just 3 corners left here in this lap. And we've got double waves, yellow flags through sector 3. Is that Street Boy? No, it's not. I don't quite know who that was, but nonetheless, we got Rexy Boy up towards the line. Is it going to be up there or thereabouts? It is. Wow, look at that P3 there for Rexy Boy. A brilliant lap there from him. Street Boy coming up towards the line. Is it going to be a similar sort of lap here? Not really. Street Boy a little bit off the pace there in P11 on a 1:19.9. I can see a car in the background. Is that C Faulkner? No, I think it might have been, no actually, it wasn't even an RB, to be fair. I think it might have been a Haas. It was a light coloured car, I know that. I think it was, no, it wasn't Drauger either. Okay. Jesus, I'm having a mare tonight. What was it? Was it a Mercedes? God, it's got to have been a Mercedes, surely. It was Matty Bit, wasn't it? Yeah. I don't know, guys. My colours aren't, I'm not very good at picking stuff off from a long distance, but nonetheless, Matty Bit here currently on a flying lap. Currently P4 in this session at the moment, 0.8 of a second off of the fastest time. Let's jump on board with our season 11 champion, is it? I want to say. Yep, so he's on an improvement. Here he comes then into the final sector of the lap. A Mercedes driver. His teammates still yet to leave the pits here in this session, so yeah, he'll be wanting to get out there as soon as possible. But Matty Pitt here, coming towards the end of his second timed run here in this qualifying session. Here he comes then, 1 corner to go. And let's see what the timing board's saying here at the end of this one. Matty Pitt definitely on an improvement at this time around, but is it going to be an improvement enough? No, stays in P4. So agonisingly close there to P3, or they're saying that. We're just seeing there T go into second place there with that last lap. So T absolutely flying. Only 0.2 off for the provisional pole time. The track is certainly rubbering in here at this point. Davidoff is out there on the track again. We've got Drauger coming towards the end of a flying lap, 0.2 up on his personal best for the middle sector. That would put him in the mix here, and he comes over P4. So Drauger found another 10th there in that final sector and moves ahead of Rexy Boy and Matty Pitt with a very nice lap time there. Not too far off of Davidoff, only half a 10th, but Davidoff did that lap under significantly worse track conditions. So you would think that Davidoff will be shortly due to improve on that current P3 time, which he's done. Mark coming through the final sector here, 0.3 up for the middle sector. That's going to certainly put him up there, as we see him now coming into these final couple of corners. As he's really nailed that penultimate corner beautifully there. Mark on a flyer. Here he comes then, out of the final corner. What is this going to be for Mark? It's going to be very, very close to the top times here, and he goes into P3. So that's a really scorcher there from Mark. Who else is on a lap here? We got I think we've got somebody coming out the final corner. Oh, Matty's into the pits, so obviously he's done his lap. He's dropping down the order here, is Matty, down to P7, so that's not gone the way he wanted to. He'll get probably another run here in this session. He'll have another set of soft tyres. I imagine now most of these drivers who have done 2 runs are going to be sitting tight in the pits at this point, because there's no point in rushing out onto the track now with your last set of soft tyres. The best thing to do now is to sit there and wait until the final runs, when you're going to get the best track conditions to be able to do your final lap. So that's what a lot of these drivers who have done 2 runs are going to be doing now. They're just going to be sitting there waiting, probably grabbing a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or whatever tickles their fancy, maybe a quick toilet break or something, just, you know, taking a moment and then trying to go for it in the last 2 or 3 minutes of the session. So we got Rexy Boy here coming through towards the final sector here, currently on an out lap, so he'll be starting lap in a second. Street Boy, his teammate, has crashed out on his out lap, so Street Boy's not going to be taking any further part here in this one. It's the pressure is on Rexy Boy to deliver here for the Tifosi, or rather for the well, there's not going to be too many Tifosi here. I'm sure there'll be a few, but obviously this is a game, not real life, so it's probably not going to count for much. But nonetheless, Rexy Boy here coming over the line to start his second flying lap of the session. As down towards turn 3 he comes, so Rexy Boy not far off for the pole time, only 0.6 of a second off of the fastest time being set by Justify. Let's keep an eye on the top right hand corner, that'll tell us where he is in regards to the to his previous best. We know he's 0.6 off of the pole time, so this will tell us how much he's improving. And look at that, he's 2/10 up for the first sector already. If he were to gain 2/10 through every sector, he'd be putting it in P2, maybe even P1. So that just goes to show Rexy Boy finding the time, and the track also rubbering in. It's a combination of affinity with the circuit and also the track improving more and more as the session goes on. Rexy Boy getting through the chicane, lost a 10th through that middle sector there, so he's lost a bit of time, but he's going to be trying to recover some of that here through this final sector. He's only a 10th off of P3, so that's surely got to be his target at this point. It's not done yet for Rexy Boy. Here he comes then. Final couple of corners here for the Ferrari man. Rexy Boy currently in P6 at the moment in this session, out of the final corner now, and this is gonna be a quick time here for Rexy Boy. I'm telling you now, it's gonna be P3 there, so he gets it well up there, moves ahead of Mark and Davidoff and Drago as well. See what I'm saying? I hope Trucky can pull something out of the bag. Trucky currently P8 at the moment, so not doing too shabby at all, but he is 1.7 seconds off for the fastest time, which is currently being set by our provisional pole sitter Justify. So Justify continuing what we saw last week, should I say. Well, I'm noticing one very notable absentee from this one tonight is Glenn, the reigning champion. I don't know, if you're in the know on this particular topic, but I'm very surprised to see Glenn not here tonight. He's a driver who had very few absences last season. But yeah, that's good. That's one very glaring void here tonight. But nonetheless, we've got Justify coming out the final corner, about to start another lap here as he's coming over the line. We got also T, who's going to be starting a lap soon, you would have thought. Oh shoot! Sorry guys. Sorry. Sorry about that, guys. That was my cat-handedness there, coming off with a remote play app, and even if you come off the app for a second, it completely halts everything. Do apologise for that. Glenn had other commitments tonight, so that'll be a big blow for him, obviously, in his pursuit of a championship title defence here this season, for sure. Obviously, you need to be pretty much making all the races to have a chance in the championship, although last season it certainly wouldn't have mattered because he was a long way clear by the end. But every point counts, especially when you've got drivers like Justify who appear to have taken to this game like a duck to water. You've also got Freddie, who was very strong last week as well in terms of his pace and has clearly put in the work over the pre-season. He's only going to get one lap in because obviously you only get one lap with the fuel. So Freddie here still yet to put a lap in. This is ultimate pressure here for this Mercedes driver here, as he's now coming towards the end of the first sector. Let's see what sort of lap he's on here. I can't quite remember what the split times were. I think about 27, anything under 27 seconds is pretty good. So Freddie here is currently setting the timing board pretty nicely alight here, as he now comes through this flat out section down towards the chicane just as you get to the end of the middle sector. But yeah, this is ultimate pressure here for Freddie. Now where are the others? Because we're going to see Justify's improving. He is improving through the first sector. He's on a good lap at the moment. Mark has moved up into second place. So Mark T's McLaren teammate is right up there. The McLaren's in second and third places. Wow, where did that come from, Mark? Absolutely phenomenal stuff as he ruins it completely there. And that could be a steward's inquiry, because that would have probably caused a yellow flag. So T into the pits. We've got Rexy Boy out there on an outlap as well. Davidoff is... oh, Mark's been disqualified. Does that mean his lap gets disqualified? And Freddie's gone pole. Freddie there puts it on pole by 0.2 of a second provisionally. But Justify's coming out of the final corner. He's a 10th up. It's going to be very, very close here. Freddie, for the time being, though, has taken pole. Is Justify going to take it back? He does. So Justify there goes a 10th of a second quicker than Freddie. Freddie, for a moment, probably thought he had nicked it there. He's still on the front row as things stand. T's in the pits. Rexy Boy just starting a lap here. What about Davidoff? He's down, coming through the middle sector. So I don't think it's going to be an improvement from him unless he can find a colossal amount of time to the final sector. He's going to try and go for another lap here, but I think he's going to run out of fuel. Matty in the foreground there has taken P5 here in the closing stages of this qualifying session. Davidoff crosses the line with enough time to do a lap, but I think he's going to run out of fuel on this lap, because he's definitely done more than one flying lap here. Drauger is on his way into the pits. White shot is done for the session. John is coming into the final sector here. Currently P10 at the moment is John. Can he find a couple of places here on his final run of the session? Here he comes then through the final corner now. Let's have a look at the timing board here. John might fancy a position or two. No, doesn't improve on his personal best there. C. Faulkner up towards the line, goes into P3. Wow, look at that. Jesus, I couldn't find his name. I was thinking, where's he gone? P3 there. So for that fantastic final lap of the session there from C. Faulkner. Mango's in the pits, so it's not going to be improvement for him. Rexy Boy here is coming through the final couple of corners. Currently P5 in this session, 0.7 of a second off of the fastest time. As he's now coming out onto the start finish straight here. And Rexy Boy up towards the line. What is it going to be for him? P3. So he goes quicker there than C. Faulkner and almost quicker than Freddie. Rexy Boy, I tell you what, has got some pace on his F125 game, especially around Albert Park. No slouch here this season, but Justify doing what he did last week. It's P1 here in qualifying for the opening round of the season. That's exactly what he'd have needed to put the pressure on Glenn. With Glenn's absence this week for this season opener, it really does bode well for Justify here. So it's Justify taking pole by 1/10 of a second there from Freddie. Rexy Boy and C. Faulkner there on the second row. T and Matty Pitt, the former teammates there, now obviously driving for McLaren and Mercedes respectively. They'll be lining up alongside each other. Davidoff down in P7's got a lot of work to do, but we know he's got the pace in the races. This is going to be a very exciting race here. Gino Sila saying that it's going to be a close season this season. It absolutely is. Looks like they've all got off on the right foot here. Obviously a new game means a fresh start, and everyone's starting from ground zero in terms of setups, in terms of the feeling of how you relate between the car and the track itself. You know, it's going to be exciting to see how everybody develops over the course of the season. But Justify there, putting it P1 ahead of Freddie in second, Rexy Boy in third with C. Faulkner fourth, T5th ahead of Matty Pitt sixth, Davidoff, Drauger, Truckee and White Shadow Hole completing the top 10, with John, Mango, Street Boy and Mark rounding out the field. So a big welcome to everybody joining us live on YouTube right now here on the Clegcom's YouTube channel. For the purple sector drivers here, round one of the season, and let's hope we can have a clean opening round of the season. Let's hope everyone keeps it tidy. We've got some contenders here that we might not have been expecting here at the top of that leaderboard here. Freddie on the front row, only a tenth off of Justify, and Rexy Boy doing a very quick lap time there, only less than 2/10 off of pole in third place, so it's very, very tight. It's going to be a fantastic season. We've got the likes of Davidoff starting in P7, who could certainly be coming back through the pack. He's not too far away for sure. Matty P5 as well, the former champion from 2 seasons ago, lining up alongside his former teammate in P5. Can't rule out C Faulkner either, who'll be lining up on the second row. So plenty of drivers in the mix here tonight. Could be anyone's race for sure. Cameron voicing his support of Street Boy in the comments. So here we go then, formation lap getting underway. I think it's going to be a short formation lap.
The driver will be looking to settle in for the race ahead, making sure that their car is ready for the battle once the lights go out.
Alright Croft, you don't have to step on my toes. Come on, I'm the commentator today. Calm down. Jeez. But yeah. So Justify and Freddie are going for the hard tyres. The hard tyre is the best tyre around this track without a doubt. I think that after about 4 or 5 laps, the medium is considerably worse. The medium only works better than the hards for about a couple of laps really. So the medium stint is the one you want to get out of the way actually around this track. The hard one is the one where you really can maximise. So some drivers have gone for that medium stint to begin with, and they'll need quick starts if they want to maximise. But for sure, it's going to be interesting to see here. So lights coming on ahead. We're about to get racing here for the Australian Grand Prix at Purple Sector, and it is lights out and away we go. And looks like Justify got a good enough start there. Freddie tucking in for the time being. Freddie's down the inside here into turn 1, and he's made that move for the lead. So Freddie there in the second phase of the start got a really good shift there, and but Justify's held it around the outside as we're side by side down towards turn 3, and it's going to be tight here between these two. Freddie trying to hang it around the outside, goes a little bit later on the brakes there, keeping himself there. Justify though says absolutely not and closes the door there, pushed him out wide. Justify holds on ahead of Freddie for the time being. Rexy Boy there in third place ahead of T, followed by C Faulkner with Davidoff there up into P6, has made up a position here on this opening lap. Drauga there down to 7th, with John Truckee has moved ahead of John there up into P8, and John's actually dropped a few places here on this first lap. Mark has dropped down to as out of the race actually. Mark is out of the race. What a disaster there for him. Matty Pitt has also had a horrendous first lap and is down to 12th place from 5th on the grid. So it's gone an absolute horror show there for Matty and for Mark. But it's Justify leading ahead of Freddie, with Rexy Boy and T in 4th, and then you got C Faulkner ahead of Davidoff there, the top 6 drivers at the moment here. But wow, what an unfortunate situation there obviously for Matty, and for Mark that is a real blow here in this opening race of the season. But other than that though, a pretty clean opening lap I have to say. It's been pretty tidy so far, and Justify Freddie, there's Rexy Boy there having done that fantastic lap at the end of the session to put it into P3. There's T, one of the admins here for the league, ahead of C Faulkner and Davidoff. Drauga there keeping tabs with the leaders here in the first few corners. Truckee there, bit of a gap back to him. White Shadow and Mango right with him. We've got John and Street Boy coming into the pits, obviously under a VSC at the moment, so it's probably a good time to do that, although you probably can't go to the end here. So it's unlikely you're going to go to the end anyway, to be honest. It's going to be a 2-stop race. I think we saw it last week, and in fact it is a full safety car, so obviously the game isn't showing that in the top left corner. It's only showing caution, but the safety car is out, so that means that we're going to be trundling around at minimal speed here for the next couple of laps at least. G.C. says, where are you at, White Shadow, bro? Currently 9th place at the moment, by the looks of it. G.C. currently on course for 2 championship points, so at the moment it's been a good night's work so far. Still a long way to go. I'm sure there's going to be more on the table. It's going to be about surviving tonight for sure. It's going to be about making sure that you get to the checkered flag with the car in one piece, basically, because it's going to be it's always a tricky one. It's Melbourne. It's basically like a street. It's like a purpose-built street circuit, essentially, is what it is. Some of it's actual roads, I believe. A lot of it is purpose-built around Albert Park. So you've got like a bit of a blend of actual street circuit and just proper purpose-built racing facilities. But really, it's going to be about making sure that you get the car to the end of the race, really. If you can do that, you're probably going to score some points. There's only 13 of them left at the moment. Right, so Matty pits 10 seconds off of the back of the train. I would have thought once Matty's caught up, the race should be green flagged once again. The question is though, is he going to catch up before they get to the control line? Because I think he might be a little bit too far behind to catch up. He might be just with us actually. You know what? I reckon we can go. There we go. Safety car in this lap. Thank goodness for that. We can get some racing underway here once again. So that is great news. And Justifies now controlling the pace, so Matty did well there to catch up to the pack before the control line there, and that means that we are green as we come out the final corner here at Albert Park here for the Australian Grand Prix at Purple Sector, and Rexy Boy there getting a much better bite there than Freddie, and it's already all over the back of him coming down towards turn 1. But Freddie in the meantime has got around the outside there. Justify goes wide onto the grass there and just about manages to keep his momentum, but he's going to lose out here to Rexy Boy, and now T as well potentially, who's managed to make the move. Well, no, he hasn't actually, as Freddie now looking back to the inside. I think T had to back out a bit there, and Rexy Boy goes wide, and Freddie gets positioned right straight back off of him there, as Rexy Boy there down to P4 in all of that. Now back into the clutches of C Faulkner, who we're riding on board with right now. So that's well, Freddie manages to actually get away with that one quite lightly here. He's only just over a second off of the lead, and he's managed to keep P2 for the time being. But T there's on the back of him right now. There's Rexy Boy waiting in the wings in the background. Tito is absolutely hassling the back of Freddie as they now come down towards the chicane. And is he going to be able to put one on Freddie here? As you can see, Freddie seems to have a lot more grip there coming out of that section of the track. Maybe T's got the straight line speed, who knows, at this moment in time. But Freddie's still holding on to second place as we see a move here. Davidoff looking down the inside of C Faulkner. Is he going to make this one stick? I think he might do, you know, as he squeezes him to the edge of the track there. Davidoff makes that move into the third to last corner, and up into P5 he goes, as we can see now. Drauga tapping the back of C Faulkner there, going into the penultimate corner. That's a hairy moment there for both of those two. I think Drauga's going to have damage on the front end of that car for sure. Whether it's significant damage or not, we'll have to see. Justify there doing the fast lap of the race, as you'd expect, because that is the first racing lap that we've had, the first full racing lap that we've had in this race. There's Drauga there making a move on Truckee making a move on Drauga. White Shadow Hole following him through, and White Shadow Hole there has pulled 2 moves in one corner there on the exit of turn 2. Lovely move there from White Shadow. Caught them napping 100% there, as we see Drauga there looking down the inside of White Shadow, but he can't make that one happen from there. White Shadow there, Truckee even closing the door on Drauga, and that wasn't going to happen in a month of Sundays there for him. But White Shadow Hole there putting a lovely move on the exit of turn 2. And I'll tell you what, G.C. if he's watching still, is going to be absolutely chuffed to bits with that one. As we can see, Truckee there's moving ahead of White Shadow up into P7. So Truckee's now made up a position, but White Shadow's still right with him there. So Truckee has gained a couple of places on this lap. We see Street Boys out of the race here on lap 5, so that's a retirement, and I think it's another safety car at the very least, a VSC. Yeah, I can see the yellow dot there coming into turn 1, so we have once again got ourselves a safety car here, which is yeah, I need not say any more, but Truckee's got a penalty for speeding under the safety car as well, which is not what you want at all. So yeah, we're going to see drivers coming into the pits now for a bit of strategy. It's not going to be much of a delta, because obviously they've barely done any laps on these tyres, so it's not like you're going to get the advantage of fresh rubber. So Justify staying out, Freddie staying out, T staying out, Davidoff staying out, Rexy Boy and C Faulkner both in. That pushes Davidoff up to 4. You've got Drauga, Mango and Matty Pitt all in as well. So yeah, these guys, nothing to lose being where they are in that leaderboard at the moment. You can see G.C. there saying you can only imagine the Discord chat right now. Yeah, I reckon it's absolutely popping at the moment. Those guys all got their AI in the car, under the safety car. It's probably absolutely raging. But yep, Street Boy out of the race. So Mark and Street Boy now. Well, I suppose it's racing, isn't it? It happens. It's very early retirement for both of those guys. They've got the rest of the race to consider the situation. So Truckee now the only driver left in the race with a penalty, and the other drivers have kept their noses pretty clean so far here in this race. Right then, here we go guys, we're about to get racing once again here at Albert Park for this Australian Grand Prix. We've got Justify that's going to lead us around here to get this restart back underway again. Freddie there is going to be all over him for sure. Gee, on the fast medium tires, it's going to be pretty seriously in the mix as well. But how long are those medium tyres going to be quicker for? Here we go then. Freddie's already making a move on Justify into turn 1, and he's made that one stick. Fantastic stuff there from Freddie. He's absolutely not wasted any time there at all. As now we've got T trying to follow him through here. Justify's under attack here from the McLaren as they come down towards turn 3, and in the background there you've got Davidoff there on the inside of John, keeping that position in 4th place. He almost taps the rear of T. I think he might have been a bit of contact there, but nothing major there at the moment. But Freddie leads us here as we come to the end of the first sector here on lap 8 of the race. T is trying to put Justify under pressure here, but he got it a little bit wrong there, and now Davidoff has closed right up onto the back of him here. They're not going to have any DRS on this lap, so they're going to have to get it done on pure grunt if they want to gain any positions here on this lap. But C Faulkner is also looking racy on the back of Rexy Boy. You've got Matty Pitt now shaping up a move here on Drauga, and he's going to look to the inside here as they're side by side coming into this next corner. Is he going to have that one done? Yes, he does. He's up into 8th place there as we watch on board there with Drauga. We've got C Faulkner there who's trying to make some moves here, but he's got himself a 3-second time penalty for track limits, so that's going to definitely haunt him at the end of the race for sure. as obviously getting one at this stage in the race, you've got to be really careful to make sure you don't get another one over the next 21 laps. But nonetheless, you got Freddie here out the front. His gap's almost a second now over Justify, so Freddie's really settled into a rhythm on this lap, having made that move into turn one. It was just a really strong restart. He was ready, he was waiting to pounce, and he went for it. Absolutely just took his opportunity there, went down the inside into turn one. We got Rexy Boy running ahead of John up into P5, so Rexy Boy's gained a place there going through turn one, and John is now coming under heavy pressure here from C Faulkner, who's looking to get a bit of a cut back here into turn four. He's going to try and go around the outside. John gives him the space, and C Faulkner there with a lovely peach of an overtake there around the outside. That was absolutely beautiful there from C Faulkner, but he might not have DRS from Rexy Boy, so that could allow John to have another crack here and come straight back at him here down this long straight. As we're riding on board now with the kick salver, is John going to have a chance here? He'll get 2 bites of the cherry because he'll get the DRS out of the chicane as well. And yeah, I don't think C Faulkner has DRS, so John has got a bit of a run, but saying that though, I don't think he's that interested in making that move back on him. Probably knows that it's better off just trying to stick with him here. That'll be the fastest strategies. John also got a 3-second time penalty as well there for track limits, which is going to definitely be a bit of a pain when we get to the end of the race for him. But Justify, in the meantime, is attacking on the back of Freddie as they're coming through the final couple of corners here. Freddie electric on that restart, but at the moment Justify is keeping him on his toes. You've got T also battling with Davidoff in the battle for third place. These guys have now got a second back to Rexy Boy, who's trying to fend off C Faulkner and Trauger, and John is battling with Mango as Matty Pitt is into the pits here at the end of lap 9. So I wonder what's gone on there with Matty. So he is putting a new set of tyres on, and off and away he goes. So he's put the well no, actually he didn't put any tyres on, did he? He's like on those suits for 2 laps. What's going on there? Was it a penalty? I don't know what's going on. Justify in the meantime, his gap to Freddie is under 4/10, so he's got DRS now. This is going to be a huge opportunity here for Justify to make this move for the lead. I think Freddie's going to be defenceless here as Justify looks to the outside. He's going to have this move done way before we get to the corner. Freddie there's keeping himself alongside. I'll tell you what, he's not giving this one up, but Justify's going to get a second bite of DRS down this next straight, and I think that's going to be job done there. It is job done. Justify takes the lead, but Freddie's going to keep him on his toes for sure, and he's going to, I'm sure, be waiting to try and come back here through the next DRS zone. Looks like a wing change there, Julius. I think you're right there, to be honest. But I'm surprised they didn't change tyres as well, to be honest. I know that they're only a lap old, but still. I mean, no laps old is better than, I suppose, to be honest. It makes no sense actually, because you waste a set of tyres, don't you? Probably be no point. Justify in the meantime, fastest lap of the race. Freddie's still within DRS range, but only just, and Justify seems to be starting to pull away here as we see Rexy Boy making a move into 4th place there ahead of T. Faulkner and Draga still right there with these guys as well here in this fight for P5 or P4 it is overall. In fact, technically P3 because Davidoff's leading this train of cars, so all the way from P3 down to P7 you've got 5 of them here in a bit of a train. Mango's got ahead of John up into P8, looking at that one on the timing board there on the left hand side. But C Faulkner getting close on the back of T, coming through into this final sector here. But Draga's just dropped off at the back of this training car. It's now a 4-car battle for the podium places, and it looks as though Davidoff and Rexy Boy are now just starting to eke away a little bit from T and C Faulkner. So C Faulkner will be wanting to get this move done as quickly as he possibly can here on the back of T. But he's a little bit too far away here, and it's still a DRS train from 3rd down to 6th. But Rexy Boy not kind of in a position to change the leader of this train. Keeping an eye on the gap at the front, it's now just over 2 seconds here, so Justify settling into a rhythm. Seems to just have the edge over Freddie at the moment, but Freddie is clearly best of the rest at the moment. Oh, it's Davidoff there, gets it all wrong, gets way out of shape, and that's going to give Rexy Boy a free pass here up into the podium places. And is Davidoff going to be vulnerable here to the others, as T and C Fortner are going to be looking on, they're going to be looking hungry here. And Davidoff's going to not have DRS down this next straight because he was behind at the detection point. It's the same detection point for both DRS zones here, so Davidoff could be vulnerable here to T. And T's going to cap the DRS down towards this next corner. Look to the inside there, onto the grass there was T, and had to back out of it there to avoid losing control of the car. And stays in 5th place for the time being. C Fortner's looking and waiting in the background here. But T, in the end, he veered off the circuit there, and I think just had to back out, otherwise he would have ended up losing control of the car there, as T's now into the pits here at the end of lap 12. Gap between the top two staying at 2 seconds, so Freddie's now managing to keep the gap pretty consistent here, so he might still be in this battle for the win. T's come out P8 or P9 actually, there he goes, so he's now back out onto the circuit once again. And Draga there has come up just behind Truckee. Truckee now up into P10 on those tyres which he put on a few laps ago. As Davidoff and Rexy Boy are still battling over 3rd place, their gap to C Fortner just over a second, so Fortner has kind of dropped out of this battle for the podium a little bit. He was obviously behind T before, but Davidoff here currently keeping Rexy Boy pretty close. Obviously made that mistake on the previous lap, which lost him that podium position for the time being anyway. Right on board with our Aston Martin driver here, trying to put the pressure here on the Ferrari. Always Rexy Boy there, went a little bit deep going into the penultimate corner, but Davidoff wasn't really in a position to capitalise at all. He's going to now get the DRS down to start finish straight. He's too far away to put him under any real pressure just at the moment, but the DRS will help him to stay within striking distance here for sure. And C Fortner's keeping tabs with these guys. He's not quite within DRS, but he's certainly going to be there if these two start fighting. Then he'll be in that. He'll be within a second in a heartbeat. Davidoff, let's see if he can get the gap around half a second just coming into the DRS zone. If he can, he'll have a good chance here of converting an overtake, although saying that, didn't get a good exit through that previous corner and lost quite a bit of time there. He's now got DRS, that's going to take him that little bit closer. He's going to be a little bit too far away going at the end of this next straight, I think. Gap around half a second, so he's bringing himself into contention here as Davidoff for this podium position. These two are continuing to gap C Fortner a little bit, who's dropping away there in P5. We can see T's picked off White Shadow Hole on those fresh tyres, so T, you'd expect him to be trying to make light work of the traffic here. So he's now up into 8th place. Next up for him will be John, who's on his medium tyres, which I believe he started the race on actually. I think he might have changed them on lap 1 actually. So yeah, that's the situation there, but Davidoff is still keeping Rexy Boy on his toes at the moment. As they come into turn 3 once again, you've got T there moving ahead of John. That's because John's into the pits here at the end of lap 14. Justify his gap to Freddie, 3.5 seconds at the moment. Davidoff very close here on the back of Rexy Boy. Oh, as you see a bit of a slide there from Davidoff. Living dangerously there, wasn't he, I tell you. He's got DRS here on the back of Rexy Boy at the moment. And it's just going to be eking a little bit closer here. But it seems like through these slower traction zones that Davidoff hasn't quite got the pace of Rexy Boy, but through some of the faster corners he's pretty strong. So that's just costing him coming through some of these DRS zones, because he's not able to get great exits here onto these straights, which is what you really need to be able to make the most of the DRS. But yeah, Davidoff at the moment still behind him. Freddie into the pits at the end of lap 15, so wait, he was only about 3 seconds behind Justified. Could he be potentially going for an undercut here? He's got 14 laps to do on a set of mediums, so it's a long way to go. So I was mistaken thinking it would be a 2-stop. I was thinking of yesterday's race at the Red Arrows League, so I do apologise for that. It's most likely a 1-stop. That's just me getting a bit jumbled with my races. But Davidoff nonetheless is on the back of Rexy Boy here as we're coming once again down this second DRS straight. It looks like Freddie's got ahead of Mango up into 5th place, so he's picking off the traffic nicely so far. He's got 12 seconds of clean air now as Freddie, so he wants to make this undercut work. He's got a chance to do it here, but he is going to have very worn out tyres by the end of the race, so that could be a big factor here. Is Justified now in the pits? So Justified responds to that undercut attempt here from Freddie and is now in the box, puts a set of medium tyres on. He'll be good to go to the end of the race. Where's Freddie? He's just coming out of the final corner now, so I think it's unlikely he's going to jump him. Justified there into turn 1. Freddie just over the start finish line, so the gap's pretty significant here between these two. It might have actually gone up. It's come down a little bit, not much. It's come down about a second, maybe half a second to a second. So Freddie gained a little bit, but he's still 3 seconds adrift on 1 lap older tyres. That's not going to make too much of a difference, but it is currently advantage Justify in this battle for the season opener race win. There's Davidoff here, still putting the pressure on the back of T in this fight for 5th place, as they're now coming through this long flat out section which leads down to that chicane. As here we go then, Davidoff to the inside, squeezes past T. Wow, look at that, he was pushed onto the grass a little bit there. Or was that just reactionary maybe? I don't think that was all T's fault. I think Davidoff has been a bit cautious there, trying to avoid going into him, but Davidoff up into P5 nonetheless on his fresh medium tyres, which he should be able to go to the end on. T is also able to go to the end on his hard, so we could be seeing T coming back at Davidoff in the closing laps, because we know the hards are the better tyre around this track. So once those mediums have used their prime, I reckon that maybe we might see T start to come back at Davidoff towards the end of the race. Nonetheless, C4 is into the pits here at the end of lap 17, so he's now got 12 laps to do on the medium tyres. He'll have a bit of a delta on the guys around him, which could be advantageous. So the only driver left to pit now, well, I wouldn't have thought Rexy Boy can go to the end on these hard tyres. He'd have to do 22 laps overall if he were to do that, maybe even 24 laps from when he put them on. He'd put them on at the end of lap 6, so 23 laps he'd have to do on these hard tyres if he were to get to the end. That might be a bit of a stretch. Surely you'd think he'd be putting a set of mediums on at some point over the next couple of laps. He'd be in a strong position if he can give it a couple more laps, put the mediums on, he'll have a good delta. He'll be able to come back through the pack, potentially into a top 5 spot, maybe a top 3 even. I reckon the podium's got to still be on here for Rexy Boy. 15 seconds ahead of Davidoff. At the moment it'd come out in between T and C Faulkner, so gotta be worth a try surely for Rexy Boy. But he wants to come out ahead of C Faulkner, because otherwise that would really mess with his strategy here. But as it stands, I'm pretty sure he'd come out ahead of him, but only just, so he needs to, I think, come in this lap. Then he'll have that tyre advantage on the likes of Justify, Freddie and Davidoff. T as well will be a little bit in front of him, so Rexy Boy, I reckon, has got to come in this lap, or if he doesn't come in this lap, he's going to the end. I think that's pretty much going to be the way to read this one here. Nonetheless, Justify, your net race leader, he's gapped 3.5 seconds to our net second place driver Freddie, who's running currently in 3rd place at the moment. He's got 6 seconds back to Davidoff, who at the moment is on course for a podium, but I'm sure Rexy will have something to say about that. So is Rexy Boy going to come in at the end of this lap? That's the question. So he doesn't, he stays out, which is clear to me that Rexy Boy is going to try and go to the end on these hard tyres, which is going to be very difficult indeed. They're going to have done a lot of laps by the end of the race. But he's giving it a crack here, isn't he? Got to respect it. You've got to respect the effort here. So Justify now, well within a second, is going to try and make this move. This could play into Freddie's hands here, because now Justify stuck behind the Ferrari. Obviously the Ferrari under no obligation to let him through, although I wouldn't have thought he'd be able to offer much of a resistance here. See, they come through this flat out section, through the middle sector of the lap here, and Justify getting closer and closer now to the outside here on Rexy Boy, and makes that move without losing any time really at all. His gap to Freddie still over 5 seconds, so in the end Justify made light work of that. Didn't cost him anything, and he can continue on his way without any further issue here. Matty's still got Truckee on the back of him here. So these two battling over the final points paying position on Truckee. What has happened to him? Obviously a strong start to the race, was up there in 7th in the early stages. As Freddie's in the pits, so he's doing what he did last week. He's coming in for a late pit stop here. I mean, he's not really got much of a delta on the likes of Davidoff and C. Faulkner here, so that is a very ballsy move here. I'm not quite sure really what advantage that strategy could possibly have. That's a bit of an odd one, to be honest with you. I can't really see any benefit to that, but who knows? I think he might have thrown away a podium there, to be honest with you. So he must have had damage. He must have had damage, surely. Well, Freddie's just pitted off at the podium, so I think that's going to be, well, surely that's going to be Davidoff into 2nd for the time being. Rexy Boy is trying to go to the end, I'm pretty sure about that. As C. Faulkner's got a 3-second penalty, which is going to hurt him even more here in these closing stages. He's got T crawling over the back of him as well. Now, who's got more penalties out of these two? C. Faulkner's got more penalties, so at the moment T would pick up P4 by virtue of having less penalties. These guys are all going to be closing in on Rexy Boy, because Rexy Boy's on very worn out hard tyres in these closing laps, but he has got a good gap actually. He's 12 seconds clear of these two, so I think, oh, it's going to be tough on those hard tyres for sure. But yeah, these guys, well, T's on the hards as well. C. Faulkner's going to be finishing the race on the medium tyres. So yeah, I think Rexy Boy might actually be alright here for, well, he might be alright for 3rd. I can't see him keeping Davidoff at bay, because Davidoff's going to be charging after him in these last few laps, but who knows? We'll have to see. Davidoff actually not making that much of an impression at the moment, but still plenty of laps here in this race. As I say that, he just gained half a second through that section, so he's definitely got some pace here right now. So this one could be an exciting end to the race. Rexy Boy and Davidoff are going to fight it out over 2nd. And T's now got the same number of penalties as Faulkner, so now this is a straight fight for 4th. And Freddie's going to move ahead of both of these guys actually by the end, so Freddie will pick up at least P4 here in this race. But I believe has thrown away his podium chance with that late pit stop, which I assume must have been due to some damage of some kind. I can't imagine why else he would have done that. Obviously obviously we didn't see the damage, but we just saw him come in. So T's dropped a little bit off of C. Faulkner over this lap. He's just dropped out of DRS here. Now this could be pretty pivotal, because if he hasn't got DRS, then he'll struggle to defend here from Freddie. Freddie's just outside DRS as well here, so at the moment they're all keeping each other at arm's length. Freddie's now within a second, but he won't get DRS down this next section because the detection point works for both of them. So it's essentially a series detection point. But at the moment, Freddie not quite close enough here on the back of T. T just about a second behind Faulkner still at this moment in time. Watching the battle here between Truckee and Matty developing at the moment. These two have been trading places a bit over the last couple of laps. Matty's pretty close here. Is he going to have DRS? I think surely he will. He's going to get closer and closer here to the back of Truckee, as Freddie's picked off T up into 5th place, but Freddie's got a penalty for track limits, so that's going to hurt him. He has moved himself up into P5 though. He can now try and chase down C. Faulkner for 4th. Now obviously he's probably not going to catch Davidoff anyway, so the penalty shouldn't make a difference, because as long as he doesn't get another one, he'll be able to finish ahead of Faulkner and T by default, even if he finishes behind him on the track, because obviously they've got more penalties than he has. So Freddie should be okay for 4th place here, as Matty's still within a second of Truckee at the moment in this fight for the final point here. So 5 laps left to go here in Melbourne for this season opener here at the Purple Sector Formula 1 League. It's Justify leading by over 10 seconds over Rexy Boy. And Davidoff is still absolutely reeling in Rexy Boy at a rate here. The gap just over a second, so he's gaining about 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds a lap here as Davidoff. He is on the mediums, which wear out quicker than the hards, but that delta that he's got, I think, is going to be comfortably still there by the end of the race. So Davidoff hasn't got to worry about his tyres being worse than Rexy Boy's at any stage. He's going to be still, I think, comfortably quicker each lap than Rexy Boy until we get to the flag. So it's all about where he can make this move. So here we go then, Davidoff now poised to take P2 here in this race. Let's jump on board and see what he can get done here. He's well within half a second here, so he's going to have the DRS. Probably won't make it into the first DRS zone, but then you have that second one to have another bite of the cherry. Here we go, Davidoff getting closer. And you can see there that the Ferrari rear wing is looming large there in Davidoff's visor. Now he looks to the inside and he's going to make this move very easily here. Davidoff side by side now to the inside and moves ahead of Rexy Boy without any issues, and his faster tyres are now going to take him away, and he should say bye bye here in his battle for 2nd place. So Davidoff here will start to pull away here from Rexy Boy in the closing laps, barring any catastrophes here. We see Freddie's now ahead of C. Faulkner on the track, and with less penalties than C. Faulkner and well, they pulled away from T now. They kicked away from T considerably, so that's not an issue now for either of them. But C. Faulkner looking good for P5, and Freddie there's pretty much got P4 in the bag at this point, as we see Matty's battling with White Shadow at the moment actually. So Truckee and Matty have moved ahead of White Shadow Hull. They're now battling over 9th rather than 10th, and Matty still struggling to clear the Red Bull here of Truckee. So 4 laps left to go here. These guys just starting lap 26 of 29, and Matty's just dropped out on the DRS here to Truckee, so that's put him on the back foot a little bit here. So here comes Justify over the line to start lap 27 of the race. Still pumping in some strong times here. He's 12 seconds ahead of Davidoff. and Rexy Boy running in third place, and Freddie is really gaining on Rexy Boy. I tell you what, Rexy Boy's tyres are absolutely shot to pieces, and I was saying earlier on, I don't think Freddie's going to be able to get back on the podium. He might well be able to here, and with the fastest lap to boot, albeit no point for fastest lap in F1 25. But Freddie here could still, I mean, he'd have to be 5 seconds quicker over these last 3 laps, so he'd have to be gaining about 2 seconds a lap, which I think is probably on the cards here. He'll need to pass him quickly. He'll need to make light work of overtaking that Ferrari, but if he gets ahead and then pulls 3 seconds in these last couple of laps, then Freddie will be on the podium. And that'll be a good recovery, in all fairness. So he's set himself a bit of a challenge here. He's not made it easy for himself as Freddie, but right now could be on the verge of a podium finish in this season opener. So Freddie here, all over the back of Rexy Boys, are coming over the line. You can see here he's got the DRS now. He looks to the inside, and Freddie's going to make this move into turn 1 here on the penultimate lap of the race. And he's made that move on the track. Now he's got to pull out 3 seconds, so he's got to get about 2 seconds on each of these final 2 laps here on Rexy Boy, and he'll be able to take that podium position, which he has fought for pretty hard over the course of this race. Had a late pit stop on lap 21. I was scratching my head. I was thinking, I think that's the wrong call, but maybe he is going to recover at least a podium from this. He's lost second to Davidoff, but he could definitely still be third here in this race. It's been a very solid drive here from Freddie in this opening round of the season. He's got some pace on this F1 25 game, I tell you. But no one currently seems to be on the level of Justify, who's really kick-started the season in a phenomenal fashion. And he is about to start this final lap of the race. And very similar vein to what we saw last week in the pre-season sort of reacclimatisation race. He is coming into turn 1 here on the final lap with a very sizable lead here, 13 seconds he's got over Davidoff, so it's looking pretty much done here for Justify at the moment. Freddie's closing the gap to Davidoff, but the 2 second gap plus the 3 second penalty makes the odds very slim, I think, for Freddie to get into second place here. But his gap to Rexy Boy is already 3 seconds, so as long as Freddie doesn't bin it on this last lap, he'll be on that podium. That'll be a good result for him to start his season off. We've got Matty up into 8th. Truckee and Matty have moved up into 7th and 8th places ahead of John. They obviously passed Mango and White Shadow Hull a couple of laps ago. So these guys now into some good points after a tricky middle part of the race, that's got to be said. But let's go to the race leader, Justify, because he's coming into the final sector here on the final lap at Albert Park for the Australian Grand Prix here at the Purple Sector Formula 1 League. What a job it's been here from Justify. Has pretty much not looked back since the start. Had a bit of pressure from Freddie, was overtaken briefly in the early stages. Freddie certainly was the one to take the fight to him, but in this final stint, again, Justify showing on his medium tyres, he is absolutely unmatched, and he's coming over the line here, Justify, to take the checkered flag, and he's your winner for the opening round of the season here at the Purple Sector F1 League for season 13. Well done to Justify, as we've got Davidoff now coming up towards the line, and it's going to be P2 here for Davidoff ahead of Freddie, who takes 3rd place on the podium. Great job there from him. Rexy Boy is over to take P4, and C. Fortin will be next over the line here to take home 5th place, and he is miles ahead of T in the end, who was with him at the start of this final stint. I don't know what happened to T, but T comes around the final corner here. Is going to take P6 as he comes up towards the line. Matty Pitt has passed Truckee finally on this last lap, but it's not going to pay any dividends for him because he's got more penalties than Truckee. So Matty's going to come over the line here. It's going to be Truckee to take home 7th, with Matty over in 8th, and in fact John's going to be 8th, I think. Is he? No, Mango's going to be 8th, John 9th and Matty 10th. And that was a bit of a shaked up order there at the end, but I think Matty held on for 10th. He does, yep. But what a race that was, guys. Fantastic stuff there from the purple sector guys. Interesting stuff. A good little comeback there from Freddie at the end after that late pit stop. Kept us on the edge of our seats there. But that is that then for the opening race. So well done to Justify on taking the win, following up last week's pre-season race with a phenomenal dominant drive there. And can anyone stop Justify? Can the reigning champion Glenn start to claw back some of the deficit? And what about Davidoff? Because Davidoff, you've got to remember, started 7th in this race. Who knows what Davidoff could have done if he hadn't been on the back foot from the start. I don't think he would have been able to beat Justify, but for sure he could have been a bit closer. So got to watch out for Davidoff over the course of this season. Still plenty of drivers in the mix. Freddie as well. It's going to be a cracking season, guys. Thanks ever so much for watching this back to the drivers. And to any friends, family members or otherwise associates, if you did enjoy, please do tune in next time. Join us next week for, or rather Thursday night should I say, actually, for Jeddah. So we'll be live for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix on Thursday. And yeah, cheers everyone, and we will see you all very, very soon indeed.